Have you ever felt like something in your relationships didn't add up? Perhaps a conversation left you uneasy, or a friend's comment seemed to carry a weight you couldn't quite explain. Maybe it was just a passing feeling, but it lingered, making you question what lay beneath. Sometimes, the closest connections can hide unexpected emotions, emotions that can quietly shape the way we feel, act, and trust. Hidden jealousy is one of those emotions. It doesn't announce itself loudly. Instead, it whispers, it lingers, and it influences in subtle yet profound ways. Before we continue, friends, I kindly ask you to subscribe to my channel. It only takes a second for you, but for me, it's an extra motivation to keep creating videos. I'd also really appreciate a comment. Thank you for your support, and now, let's continue with the story. As we grow older, our relationships often become the most cherished parts of our lives. They anchor us, support us, and remind us of who we are. But what happens when something invisible starts to erode that foundation? Jealousy, especially when hidden, is like a splinter beneath the skin, small, almost unnoticed, but capable of causing disproportionate pain if left unchecked. It's not always the jealousy you'd expect. It might not come with outbursts or overt actions. Often, it's disguised as a compliment that doesn't feel genuine, a piece of advice that stings, or an act of support that leaves you questioning its intention. Let's think about the American dream for a moment, a symbol of independence, achievement, and the pursuit of happiness. Many of us grew up believing in it, working hard to build lives that reflect our values and dreams. And as we achieve our goals, it's natural to want to share those successes with others. But here's the twist. Sometimes, what we view as a celebration of hard work and perseverance can be perceived differently by those around us. What if that promotion, that dream house, or even a simple lifestyle choice you made sparks feelings in someone else that they don't fully understand? A close friend once shared with me her story about her sister. Growing up, they were inseparable, two peas in a pod, as their mother always said. But as the years passed, their lives took different paths. One stayed in their hometown, raising her family and finding joy in a quiet life. The other moved to a big city, chasing and ultimately achieving her career dreams. They were happy for each other. At least, that's what my friend believed. But little things began to change. Her sister started making comments like, "It must be nice to have time for vacations," or, "I don't know how you keep up with such a busy life." They were always said with a smile, but the words lingered. Over time, those small remarks added up, creating a sense of distance neither of them could explain. Have you ever experienced something similar? A relationship that started to feel different, not because of anything you did, but because of a subtle shift in the other person? It's not always easy to recognize hidden jealousy, especially when it comes from someone we love or respect. But here's the thing. Spotting it early can make all the difference. It allows us to address the feelings behind the behavior, preserving the bond before it begins to fray. But how do we do that? How can we identify something so carefully concealed? And more importantly, how can we respond in a way that nurtures a relationship rather than damaging it further? These are big questions, but the answers often lie in the details. In paying attention to what's said and what's left unsaid, in understanding the subtle signs that jealousy may be at play. What if the secret to navigating these situations lies not in confrontation, but in curiosity and compassion? What if learning to spot hidden jealousy can teach us not just about others, but about ourselves? In the next section, we'll explore the subtle signs of hidden jealousy, those small yet powerful indicators that something deeper is happening beneath the surface. Stay with me, because understanding these signs could change the way you see your relationships forever. Let's uncover this together. Have you ever noticed how some gestures of support come with a hidden edge? Maybe it's the colleague who praises your hard work, but follows it with, "You're lucky. Most people wouldn't get those opportunities." Or the sibling who insists they're proud of you, yet their tone suggests a tinge of bitterness. These moments often leave us confused, wondering if we're misinterpreting the situation. But here's the thing. Hidden jealousy isn't always easy to spot because it's rarely expressed outright. Instead, it hides in small, subtle ways that can chip away at our confidence in relationships over time. Hidden jealousy is like an undercurrent. You can't always see it, but it influences the flow of interactions. At its core, jealousy stems from a fear of inadequacy, competition, or a perceived imbalance in attention or success. And because it's often rooted in insecurity, it tends to manifest in ways that are indirect and disguised. Let's explore this through a few real-life scenarios, each illustrating how hidden jealousy can seep into different relationships. Consider Emily, a rising star at her company, and her co-worker Mark. They'd always shared a friendly rapport, grabbing coffee together and collaborating on projects. When Emily was promoted to a managerial role, Mark congratulated her with a warm smile and said, "That's great. You've always been lucky with timing." At first, Emily brushed it off. But as weeks went by, Mark's attitude began to shift. He started questioning her decisions in meetings, often framing his objections as jokes. "Well, I guess that's why they made you the boss," he'd quip, while subtly undermining her authority in front of others. The real turning point came when Mark began taking credit for work they'd done together. In one instance, he presented a proposal Emily had spearheaded, downplaying her involvement. Emily couldn't ignore the pattern anymore. The once friendly dynamic had been replaced by subtle power plays, making her second-guess herself in her new role. Jealousy in the workplace often revolves around competition. Promotions, recognition, and success can ignite feelings of envy, especially if someone feels left behind. The key to spotting this type of jealousy lies in observing patterns. Are their words consistently laced with sarcasm or backhanded compliments? Do they seem more focused on your shortcomings than your accomplishments? Recognizing these signs is the first step in protecting your professional confidence. Now, let's turn to family dynamics. Meet Olivia and her younger sister, Rachel. Growing up, Rachel was always seen as the golden child, charming, accomplished, and adored by everyone. But as they entered adulthood, Olivia found her stride, excelling in her career and building a close-knit family of her own. At family gatherings, Rachel would shower Olivia with compliments like, "You're such a great mom. I could never juggle everything the way you do." The words seemed kind, but there was always an undercurrent of something else. Olivia began noticing little digs. Rachel would mention how Olivia's kids seemed a bit too busy with extracurriculars or how her home was so perfect it must be exhausting to keep up. These comments weren't overtly cruel, but they left Olivia feeling uneasy, as if her achievements were being diminished. Over time, their interactions grew strained. Olivia felt like she had to downplay her successes to avoid creating tension, while Rachel struggled with feelings of being overshadowed. In families, jealousy often intertwines with long-standing dynamics and unspoken rivalries. It's important to ask yourself, does this person's support feel consistent, or does it come with strings attached? Do they celebrate your wins wholeheartedly, or do they find ways to minimize them? Identifying these patterns can help you navigate the complexities of familial relationships. Hidden jealousy doesn't only appear in friendships or family. It can also infiltrate romantic relationships. Take Mike and Laura, a couple married for 15 years. Laura recently started a side business that quickly gained traction, bringing her both financial independence and a sense of accomplishment. While Mike initially seemed supportive, his behavior began to change. He'd make offhand comments like, "Don't work too hard. You don't want to neglect the kids." Or, "I liked it better when we had more time together." At first, Laura thought Mike's concerns were genuine. But over time, his remarks started to feel less like advice and more like criticism. He'd point out minor mistakes in her business and bring up hypothetical scenarios about what could go wrong. Laura realized his comments stemmed from insecurity about her growing independence and a fear of losing their dynamic as a couple. Though he never explicitly said he was jealous, his actions revealed his underlying discomfort. In romantic relationships, hidden jealousy often connects to fear of vulnerability. A partner may struggle with feelings of inadequacy if they perceive a shift in the balance of success or attention. Differentiating between genuine concern and jealousy requires examining the intention behind their words. Are their comments rooted in care, or do they seem driven by insecurity? So, how can you differentiate between genuine support and hidden jealousy? Start by paying attention to consistency. True support feels steady and reliable, while jealousy often reveals itself through mixed signals. Support one moment, critique the next. Watch for patterns of minimizing, dismissing, or undercutting your achievements. Ask yourself, do their words make you feel valued, or do they leave you questioning your worth? Another key indicator is the context of their behavior. Do they seem to act differently in public versus private settings? Someone who supports you in private but undermines you in front of others may be masking jealousy. Similarly, consider their reaction to your setbacks. Genuine supporters will offer comfort and encouragement, while those harboring jealousy might seem oddly satisfied or indifferent. Research suggests that jealousy is often rooted in unmet needs or a fear of loss. Psychologists describe it as a complex emotion that combines feelings of inferiority, competition, and vulnerability. When someone feels threatened, whether by your success, happiness, or attention, they may react by trying to level the playing field. Hidden jealousy is a defense mechanism, a way for individuals to cope with their insecurities without openly confronting them. Understanding this doesn't mean excusing hurtful behavior, but it does offer perspective. Recognizing that jealousy often stems from internal struggles can help you approach these situations with empathy while maintaining your boundaries. Hidden jealousy may be subtle, but its effects can be profound. It can strain relationships, erode trust, and make you question yourself. By learning to spot the signs, patterns of behavior, inconsistent support, and subtle digs, you can protect your peace and navigate these dynamics more effectively. But what happens when hidden jealousy goes unchecked? How does it impact our most cherished relationships over time? In the next section, we'll explore the emotional toll it takes and why understanding its effects is crucial for maintaining harmony in our connections. Let's uncover this together. Have you ever felt the quiet pain of losing a connection without fully understanding why? Hidden jealousy has a way of reshaping relationships from the inside out, leaving both parties feeling misunderstood, hurt, and disconnected. It's not the kind of emotion that announces itself loudly. Instead, it lingers in the shadows, gradually eroding trust, intimacy, and the ability to communicate openly. To truly understand the impact of hidden jealousy, let's revisit the stories of Ben and Jake, Lisa and Carol, and Sarah and John, exploring the long-term emotional consequences of jealousy left unchecked. When Ben first realized that Jake's jokes had taken on an edge, he brushed it off. Maybe he's just having a tough week, he told himself. But as Jake's behavior continued, Ben began to notice patterns that were impossible to ignore. Jake no longer celebrated Ben's successes with genuine enthusiasm. Instead, his congratulations came with qualifiers, like, well, I guess hard work pays off. For some people, he'd find ways to downplay Ben's achievements in front of their mutual friends, saying things like, yeah, but Ben's always been lucky like that. For Ben, these comments didn't just hurt, they made him question his own worth. Was he really deserving of his accomplishments? Did Jake see him as someone who had simply stumbled into success rather than earning it? Over time, the strain of these interactions began to weigh on Ben's self-esteem. He started avoiding discussions about his career altogether, fearing that anything he shared would be met with another cutting remark. The once solid foundation of their friendship began to crack, leaving Ben feeling isolated and unsupported. Jake, on the other hand, wrestled with his own emotions. He wasn't proud of the things he said, but he couldn't seem to stop himself. Each new success Ben achieved felt like a reminder of his own perceived shortcomings. Jake's jealousy wasn't about malice. It was about insecurity. He saw Ben's accomplishments as a reflection of his own stagnation, and that comparison fueled a cycle of resentment and self-doubt. But instead of addressing those feelings, he channeled them into sarcasm and passive-aggressive behavior, pushing Ben away. The long-term consequences of their unchecked jealousy were significant. Ben lost a friend he had once considered a brother, and Jake lost an opportunity to grow from his own insecurities. Their story is a reminder that hidden jealousy, if left unaddressed, can sever even the deepest connections. In Lisa's case, her mother's subtle comments created an emotional tightrope that was impossible to walk. Carol would often call to check in, but the conversations would inevitably veer into guilt-laden territory. "It's great that you're thriving," she'd say, "but it's hard not having you around. Things just aren't the same without you." These words weren't meant to hurt Lisa, but they carried an emotional weight that left her feeling torn between her own happiness and her mother's approval. Over time, Lisa began to notice the toll these conversations were taking on her mental health. She started dreading her mother's calls, knowing they would leave her feeling guilty and conflicted. She began second-guessing her decisions, wondering if pursuing her career goals had been selfish. The constant undercurrent of jealousy and fear in their interactions drained Lisa's emotional energy, making her less present in her own life. For Carol, the jealousy wasn't rooted in spite. It was a reflection of her own fears. She worried that Lisa's independence signaled a permanent shift in their relationship, one where she would no longer play a central role. This fear manifested as subtle attempts to tether Lisa closer, but the unintended effect was creating distance instead of closeness. Carol's inability to express her feelings directly led to misunderstandings and resentment on both sides. Psychologists often note that jealousy in familial relationships is deeply tied to expectations and identity. Parents, in particular, may struggle when their children's choices challenge traditional family roles or dynamics. The fear of losing influence or connection can drive behaviors that, while well-intentioned, come across as controlling or critical. Understanding this dynamic is essential for breaking the cycle and rebuilding trust. In Sarah and John's relationship, jealousy didn't appear in the form of shouting matches or dramatic confrontations. Instead, it showed up in the little things: John's hesitant tone when he asked about her classes, the way he'd sigh when she talked about her ambitions, or his tendency to bring up the good old days before she started school. At first, Sarah chalked it up to normal adjustments in their relationship, but as the months went on, John's subtle criticisms began to chip away at her sense of security. One night, after a long day of studying, Sarah mentioned how proud she was of her progress. John responded with a lukewarm, "That's great, but don't you think you're taking on too much?" It wasn't the words themselves that hurt. It was the implication behind them. Sarah felt as though her efforts were being dismissed, as if her growth was a threat rather than something to celebrate. John's jealousy stemmed from a fear of change. He worried that Sarah's newfound independence might leave him feeling irrelevant or less valued. But instead of sharing these fears, he masked them with comments that subtly undermined her confidence. For Sarah, the emotional impact was profound. She began doubting her ability to balance her goals and her relationship, and the weight of those doubts made her question whether she was being selfish. Unchecked jealousy in romantic relationships can erode the very foundation of trust and intimacy. It creates a dynamic where one partner feels unsupported and the other feels insecure, leading to a cycle of misunderstanding and withdrawal. But when jealousy is acknowledged and addressed, it can become an opportunity for growth rather than a source of conflict. One of the most common misconceptions about jealousy is that it's always malicious or intentional. The truth is, jealousy often arises from vulnerability. It's not about wanting to hurt someone. It's about struggling with one's own feelings of inadequacy, fear, or loss. Understanding this can help us approach jealousy with empathy, both in ourselves and in others. Another misconception is that jealousy is a sign of weakness. In reality, it's a natural human emotion, one that can provide valuable insights into our insecurities and unmet needs. Recognizing jealousy as a signal rather than a flaw allows us to respond to it constructively, creating opportunities for deeper connection and self-awareness. Hidden jealousy is a quiet force, but its impact is anything but subtle. It can reshape relationships, alter self-perception, and leave lasting scars if left unchecked. But understanding its emotional toll is the first step toward addressing it. By recognizing the patterns, exploring the underlying emotions, and challenging common misconceptions, we can begin to navigate the complexities of jealousy with compassion and clarity. In the next section, we'll delve into how to confront hidden jealousy in a way that strengthens relationships and fosters growth. Let's uncover this together. Have you ever faced a moment when you realized something wasn't right in a relationship? Maybe it was the way someone's tone shifted when you shared good news, or how their laughter seemed a little forced. You knew they cared, but there was something unspoken between you, something that made every interaction feel just a bit heavier. Hidden jealousy, while subtle, can create deep fractures in our relationships. But what if the key to addressing it doesn't lie in confrontation, but in understanding? What if the way forward is about setting boundaries, fostering empathy, and protecting your peace? When dealing with hidden jealousy, one of the first challenges is recognizing the behavior for what it is. For instance, think about Ben and Jake. If Ben had confronted Jake with accusations, it might have escalated the tension rather than resolved it. Instead, the key is to approach the situation with curiosity. Ask yourself, is this person's behavior a reflection of their feelings toward me, or is it rooted in their own insecurities? This shift in perspective can make all the difference. Imagine a workplace scenario. Laura worked tirelessly on a project that earned her team widespread recognition. During the celebration, her co-worker Matt congratulated her but added, "Must be nice to get all the credit for a team effort." At first, Laura felt defensive. Was Matt undermining her success? But instead of reacting impulsively, she paused and reflected. She realized that Matt's comment likely stemmed from his own feelings of being overlooked. Laura chose to address it in private, saying, "I noticed your comment earlier. I value what you bring to the team, and I want to make sure you feel recognized too." This simple acknowledgement diffused the tension and opened a space for understanding. Sometimes, giving people the opportunity to express their feelings can transform jealousy into connection. But what if the person doesn't respond with openness? In family dynamics, jealousy can be particularly challenging because the relationships are so deeply intertwined. For Lisa and Carol, the tension wasn't about malice, but about unspoken fears and unmet expectations. Lisa's decision to set gentle boundaries was pivotal. Instead of engaging in conversations that made her feel guilty, she learned to redirect them. When Carol would say, "I wish you were closer to home," Lisa responded with reassurance, saying, "I miss you too, Mom. Let's plan a visit soon." This approach allowed her to acknowledge her mother's feelings without sacrificing her own independence. Setting boundaries isn't about shutting people out. It's about creating a space where both parties can feel respected. Boundaries protect your emotional well-being while signaling to others that their feelings matter too. It's a delicate balance, but one that's essential for preserving healthy relationships. Have you ever struggled to set boundaries with someone you love? It's not easy, but it's a skill that can transform the way you connect with others. In romantic relationships, addressing jealousy often requires even more nuance. Sarah, for example, recognized that John's comments about her schooling were rooted in his fears of being left behind. Rather than dismissing his feelings, she chose to engage with them. One evening, she said, "I've noticed you've seemed a bit distant lately. Is there something you're worried about?" At first, John was hesitant to open up, but Sarah's patience and empathy created a safe space for him to share his insecurities. By acknowledging his fears and reassuring him of their partnership, Sarah was able to address the jealousy without letting it fester. Psychologists often emphasize the importance of communication in managing jealousy. When someone feels heard and validated, their defensive instincts tend to soften. It's not about agreeing with their perspective, but about showing that you care enough to understand it. This approach doesn't just benefit the person experiencing jealousy. It strengthens the relationship as a whole. Of course, not every situation can be resolved through dialogue. Some people may not be ready to confront their feelings, and that's okay. In those cases, Protecting your own emotional health becomes a priority. This might mean limiting interactions with someone whose jealousy feels toxic, or seeking support from a trusted friend or therapist to process your own feelings. Another critical aspect of addressing hidden jealousy is differentiating between empathy and enabling. While it's important to understand where someone's jealousy comes from, it's equally important not to let it dictate your actions. For example, if a friend consistently diminishes your achievements to make themselves feel better, it's not your responsibility to dim your light. Instead, focus on fostering relationships where mutual support and respect are the foundation. Hidden jealousy is often rooted in vulnerability, a feeling that many people struggle to articulate. It can stem from fear of being left behind, fear of not measuring up, or fear of losing connection. Recognizing these fears doesn't excuse hurtful behavior, but it helps us approach jealousy with compassion. It allows us to see beyond the surface and address the underlying emotions. One common misconception about jealousy is that it's inherently destructive. While jealousy can create tension, it can also serve as a mirror, reflecting areas where growth is needed. For those experiencing jealousy, it's an opportunity to examine their own insecurities and aspirations. For those on the receiving end, it's a chance to practice empathy, set boundaries, and reinforce their sense of self-worth. As you think about your own relationships, consider this. Have there been moments when jealousy, either yours or someone else's, created distance? How might things have changed if the emotion had been acknowledged openly and compassionately? Addressing hidden jealousy isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about fostering understanding. It's about turning a potential source of division into an opportunity for deeper connection. What if the secret to overcoming jealousy lies not in confrontation, but in curiosity? What if by seeking to understand, we could not only protect our relationships, but strengthen them? In the next section, we'll explore how hidden jealousy, when addressed with care and empathy, can become a catalyst for growth and connection. Let's uncover this together. As we wrap up this conversation, take a moment to imagine the possibilities. Picture a relationship in your life, a friendship, a family bond, or a partnership that feels lighter, freer, and more open. Think about what it would mean to let go of the subtle tensions that jealousy can create. Imagine what could grow in their place. Deeper trust, genuine support, and a sense of peace that strengthens not just the relationship, but your own sense of self. I'd like to share a story about Karen, a woman in her early 50s who had always been the peacemaker in her family. She often felt the weight of unspoken jealousy between her siblings, especially when it came to their parents' attention and support. Karen decided to do something different. Instead of avoiding the tension, she chose to address it gently. During a family gathering, she shared a memory of how each of them had brought joy to their parents in unique ways. It wasn't about comparison. It was about connection. That moment shifted something. It didn't erase years of complicated dynamics, but it opened the door to conversations they'd never had before. Over time, the jealousy that had once created distance became a source of understanding. Karen realized that by acknowledging the unspoken feelings, she had not only helped heal her family, but also freed herself from carrying their emotional weight. When we address hidden jealousy, we're not just improving one relationship. We're changing the way we show up in all our connections. Think of it like a ripple effect. The courage to have one honest conversation can inspire others to be vulnerable too. The decision to set a healthy boundary can teach someone else how to respect their own needs. And every small step we take toward understanding strengthens our confidence and self-awareness, making it easier to navigate challenges in the future. There's something remarkable about the power of empathy. It allows us to see beyond the surface, to understand that jealousy often hides deeper fears. Fears of being left out, overlooked, or unseen. When we approach these feelings with compassion, we're not just helping others. We're giving ourselves permission to grow. Empathy teaches us that we don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love and connection. It reminds us that relationships are not about competition, but about lifting each other up. Think back to the story of Eleanor and Ava. That one moment of vulnerability didn't just save their friendship, it strengthened it. Eleanor learned to face her own insecurities, and Ava discovered the importance of creating a safe space for honesty. Their relationship became a source of strength for both of them, proving that even the most strained connections can heal with openness and care. As you reflect on your own experiences, consider the small steps you can take to nurture your relationships. Is there a conversation you've been avoiding, a boundary you need to set, or maybe a moment to celebrate someone's success without letting comparison cloud your joy? These actions may feel uncomfortable at first, but they are the foundation of healthier, more fulfilling connections. If this message has resonated with you, I invite you to take a moment to share your thoughts. Maybe there's a story you'd like to tell, a lesson you've learned, or a question you're still pondering. Your voice matters, and your experiences could inspire someone else to take the next step in their journey. Leave a comment, and let's create a space where we can learn and grow together. And if you found value in this conversation, consider joining this community by subscribing to the channel. There's so much more to explore. Lessons about resilience, stories of transformation, and insights that can help us all live fuller, more meaningful lives. Together, we can continue uncovering the truths that lead to stronger relationships and a deeper sense of self. As we close, I want to leave you with this thought. Every relationship, no matter how complicated, carries the potential for healing. Every moment of tension holds the opportunity for growth. And every step toward understanding, no matter how small, brings us closer to the connection and peace we all deserve. The choice is yours, but always remember, it's never too late to rewrite your story. Let's continue this journey together. See you in the next video. Until then, take care of yourself and those you love. The best is yet to come.